Let's talk about the wide receiver position, Samantha. Where are we going? We had some injuries. We had some underperformances. And in your column, we have some guys that are coming back from injury potentially that you may want to snap up now.
Sure. So one guy that I think is a standout in this column is Isaiah Mckenzie. One of the Isaiahs in this, but they're not spelled the same. That's what's annoying. I can never spell Isaiah correctly because there's like 8 million different spellings. Anyway, he was also in the look ahead waiver wire column, had another nice day for the Bills. In spite of weather challenges, he caught 4 of 6 targets for 21 yards at a touchdown. That was his 3rd touchdown of the season. He's the wide receiver 25.5 PPR with 1 game left to play. Now, his role could have been a little augmented because I think Gabe Davis was a little bit of a decoy in this game, given how little he was targeted. But I think that Mckenzie should be rostered in more leagues because that wide receiver 2 spot still feels up for grabs. And Jamison Crowder did suffer a broken ankle, will be out indefinitely. So I think that Mckenzie will definitely see some work. Now, do note he left the game in the concussion protocol. If he doesn't clear it, he may not play this week. So just something worth mentioning, but I really like him as a long-term value, like a type of guy that could evolve. And to your point about the offenses, I mean, it's a great offense. I would love to have more pieces of a Josh Allen led offense. Another guy that is really exciting is George Pickens. So he is someone that I had on my radar after he had that crazy acrobatic catch on Thursday night, the Odell Beckham-esque catch. Now, he hadn't put up a lot of production, but he actually did have a kind of breakout day with Pickett taken over. He had 6 catches for a team high 102 yards, currently the wide receiver 18 heading into Monday night. I think that he was a great pickup for the Steelers. They do have depth, but not a ton of depth. Chase Claypool doesn't feel like the answer to like their wide receiver 2 situation. So I feel like Pickens is just like a guy that they got at a really good value, just given how banged up he was in college. But we talked about the Steelers schedule, so Pickens is more of like a longer term type guy. And then a couple other guys that I will mention from the Lions, Josh Reynolds and Jamison Williams. So TJ Hawkinson completely blew us all away. He was a guy that we were worried about too for fantasy.
It helps to have no DeAndre Swift, no sun god on the roster, right? So targets had to go somewhere in a game where both teams got in the 40s.
Yeah, sure. So if it looks like Amon-Ra St. Brown might be in jeopardy of missing more time, I mean, Josh Reynolds could definitely be on the radar. Even if Amon-Ra comes back, I mean, they're so shallow. They had some guy named Tom Kennedy catching passes in this receiving course. So it's pretty shallow out there. Williams is a totally separate story. He's now eligible to come off the NFI list. I don't know if that will happen immediately, but he's a guy with 4.3 speed that just like may have gone a little bit unnoticed because of just how stacked this wide receiver class has been. We've had crazy performances from Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and Drake London, but don't sleep on Jamison Williams because I think that he's a type of guy that could come out and make a really big impact, especially with the Lions likely trailing in a lot of games.
Yeah, remember, I mean, Detroit still used the 1st round draft pick on a wide receiver out of Alabama, and those wide receivers out of Alabama seem to be doing pretty well here in the big leagues. I also love the George Pickens call. And one other note on that, Samantha, if they go to Pickett, that could mean more for Pickens. And the reason is this: they have actually more chemistry because they've been running with the 2s the entire time in training camp, right? In practices, if anything, Kenny Pickett is not getting reps with Claypool and Deontay Johnson, like you mentioned. He's getting more reps with Pickens. He's already probably got that back shoulder fade or kind of knows what routes he likes to run. So as Pittsburgh does kind of move over to Kenny Pickett, I would not be surprised if the target share for George Pickens grows as well. The only other wideout I would include here, you did have it in your column, I believe, as well, is over in Dallas. We saw the return of Michael Gallup. And I know you have been talking about Noah Brown for a little while, but I actually think that Gallup coming back and Dak Prescott on the horizon coming back could resume Gallup being like the normal number 2 option in this passing offense. And I think that's something I would want some shares of. I know you've talked about Noah Brown in the past. What do you think about it now that Gallup is also back in the fold?
Sure. So Gallup would definitely be my preferred one of him and Brown. He's 41% rostered, so he's a little bit less available than Brown is, which makes sense. Now, I just think it's great that they have receivers that are talented that are on the field right now. I mean, like, this is taking some pressure off of CD Lamb, which is really helping him, I think. And Gallup is a guy that we've seen do it in the past. Like, he has been productive. He has a chemistry with Dak Prescott. So I went into the season thinking that Gallup was going to be the wide receiver 2. He ended up being banged up, not ready for week 1, but with him coming back, I mean, he immediately made an impact, caught a touchdown. So I certainly think that he could easily take over that wide receiver 2 position. Noah Brown ends up being more of the like boomer bust type guy, but I still think that there will be targets to go around, especially if Dalton Schultz remains kind of like a little banged up.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, maybe the biggest piece of all of that is that Dak Prescott could be targeting next week for a return as well. Although they are 0-1 with Dak and undefeated, I think, with Cooper Rush so far.
I know. And I was just on San Antonio radio, and they were asking me if I thought that, it was going to be a QB.
No.
They were asking me if I thought it was going to be a QB competition. And I was like, are you for real? And I actually saw a couple things on Twitter from Cowboys fans, like already giving up on Dak and saying he can't hit the broadside of the barn or whatever. Like, and I'm like, guys, that was one game against a really good defense. So I'm certainly not, fading Dak Prescott quite yet.
Yeah, we'll put that in our patience or panic segment maybe later on in the season. But I'm with you. There's a reason that Dak is QB1 in Dallas, and he probably will assume that role again as soon as he is healthy to do so.